Hi everybody, Joe Conroy with Hartford Retirement Planners, and recently we announced the creation of our Hartford Retirement Planners Community Fund, all right? So we've created a charitable account in order to give back to the community that helps and supports us so much. And we've gotten a lot of interest and questions on how does that work. So I figured I'd take a moment today to show you how we set up our fund in different ways that if you're interested, you could set up a fund of your own. So we're gonna break this down in a couple different charts. First one is, what do you fund it with, right? So probably 98+% of the people watching this video, if you're giving to charity, you're probably just writing checks, right? But there might be a more efficient way to do it. So how do you fund one of these accounts? Typically the minimum is $10,000, but we'll get back to that in a second. Cash, right? So probably what most people are used to doing. Property, stocks, mutual funds, ETFs, bonds, investments, whatever. Or QCDs, or Qualified Charitable Distributions, if you are of RMD age. Now, before I go any further, disclaimer, consult with your CPA, your financial professional, to see if this is something that works for you, all right? So, how do you fund it? In our example, at least, let's say that we have ABC stock, and we purchased this a few years ago for $5,000, all right? Now, it might not feel like it recently, but let's say that it has grown over time and it's now worth another $5,000. So what we've got here is an unrealized capital gain. So at some point when we sell these shares, we're gonna have a capital gain. Typically for most individuals, it's between 15, 20%, maybe a little bit more if you're a high earner. Again, check with your CPA. So now we've got a $10,000 position and we've got a capital gain, which could be ballpark a couple $1,000s of taxes that we would owe. So what most people are doing is they sell these investments or they just take cash and give to charity. Let me show you how it's more efficient. So we're gonna bundle up all $10,000 and we're gonna ship these shares over. We're not gonna sell them. We're gonna put them into our newly formed charitable account, and then that charitable organization will sell those shares and you get a deduction on the full amount. So once they get here, they sell them and then the funds are redeployed into a diversified portfolio, and you can make it as conservative or as aggressive as you and your financial advisor wish. One of the cool things, but not the reason why we set this up, you can name it whatever you want. So we've got the Hartford Retirement Planners Community Fund. You can name it the Smith Family Foundation, the whatever you want it to be. So the benefit is you get to avoid the capital gain, you get a deduction on the full amount, subject to certain limitations, and then do you have to give all of the money away, right? So now we've got our account funded, we've got the Smith Family Foundation. What do we do with this thing? So when the money comes out, you can do it a couple of different ways. You don't have to give all $10,000 immediately. You can parse it out over time. So some ways you can set up these funds, they go out, maybe you can do $500 a year, $1,000 a year, $2,500 one year, $1,000 the next year. You've got a lot of flexibility. Another option, and this is the one that we chose, is you could do an endowed fund. Now that means that automatically the funds are invested and 4% of that balance is going to go out every year to the charitable organizations that you want them to go to. So here's an interesting Maryland specific, it could be available in other states, but we're here in Maryland. If you give to a local community foundation, Maryland has created this pool of tax credits. So if you create a local community fund and it's endowed, you could get a 25% state tax credit in addition to the federal and state deduction. Contact a financial advisor, contact your local community foundation or your CPA to see if that's available to you, but it's pretty cool if you can make it work. If you have a non-endowed fund, like I mentioned earlier, the money can go out to 503Cs, and that's important. It's always got to go to a 503C. Can't go to your neighbor who needs a little extra help to get through the holidays. Unfortunately, it's not set up that way. But one of the important things is you control the distributions, right? So you direct where that money goes. Now, when you direct the money out of it in the future years, you don't get another deduction. So the deduction is on the front end. When you create this fund, that's when you get the deduction, not when the money comes out. So if your account grows from $10,000 to $20,000, you give out $20,000, you're still only left with the $10,000 deduction from when you first started. It's not a bad deal, right? Because this is all for charity, so you're giving more money away, so it's a net positive to society. So let's wrap this thing up with a couple of bullet points. This is a way, if you have charitable intent, to give efficiently. Don't sell things for gains and then give to charity. Avoid the gain. The charity's going to get the same amount of money. They don't care where the money comes from, but it helps you avoid some taxes and keeps Uncle Sam out of your pockets as much as possible. And if you think about it, the less you're paying to Uncle Sam, the more you can give to charity if you want. Retain control. So you, even though you can't pull the money back, once it goes into the fund, it doesn't come back out to you, you still have some control ability for where you want those funds to go. So if you're an animal lover, you can pick those specific charities to give to. If, there's a million different causes out there, I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can pick the charities that you want to go to as long as they're a 503c, and that's where the money gets directed. So this is a complicated on the surface, but once we talk through it, simple process in order to try to avoid taxes and get the most efficient giving with your charitable intent. So you got two different ways to do this. Usually it's a $10,000 minimum. Contact a financial advisor, contact your local community foundation. You can contact us if you'd like, and you're interested in setting up your own fund. There's a lot of different tax strategies to make this thing work the best. We'd be happy to answer any questions. As always, thank you for watching.